You can also now watch Packard Pokes At on Atheism TV at youtube.com/atheismtv and, as always, on youtube.com/Packard Pokes At. Come to the live show and chat with us on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Central Time on vonlive.tv/Packard Pokes At. See you there!
Do you really like Packard Pokes At and want to promote the show? Then go to cafepress.com/Packard Pokes At. There are hundreds of items available, including hats, shirts, hoodies, and so much more. Every purchase from cafepress.com/Packard Pokes At helps support the show. Your Packard Pokes At coffee mug is waiting for you.
Do you want to stream Packard Pokes At on your iPhone or BlackBerry? Download Stitcher free today at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
You're on in 3, 2, 1.
This is Packard Pokes At, and I'm poking at your news. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another fine edition of Packard Pokes At. I am your immutable and unmutable host, Packard Sonic. And joining us tonight from the far, far East Coast is Joe Unseen.
Earth below us, drifting, falling, floating, weightless, Packard Sonic.
Joe, you're on that new diet again, aren't you?
Yes.
And joining me from the far, well, just east of me anyway, is Dave, you're damned.
Thank Freya, it's Friday, everybody.
Yes, it is. And if you suddenly hear thundering or rumbling or something going tweet, tweet, tweet in the chat tonight or in the broadcast tonight, I'll take care of it. It's just we're under we got storms in the area, so hey, it's just one of those things. All right, before we get started, we have a quick update on a previous story we did a while back. We did a story about if you want to get a one-way ticket to Mars. By the time, if you're listening to this as a podcast, you're too late because the deadline closes Saturday. About 165,000 people applied online to join the Mars One mission, so to go basically one-way ticket to Mars, no coming back. And this is a very interesting story. We'll be keeping track of it as the story progresses, see who goes, who's staying, and what happens if they actually make it all the way to Mars. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get on to our first topic for this evening.
Building a better future, science and technology.
Have you ever taken a picture of yourself or had somebody else take a picture of you? But I'm not talking, fully dressed. I'm talking in the buff.
Well, only you.
Well...
Oh, you're speaking to the audience. Okay.
Yes, I'm speaking of the audience, Joe. There's a new law that's going to be pushed out in California. It's called the revenge porn law, or basically people who take pictures of somebody and that's in the buff, or nude, or doing compromising things like having sex, whatever, and they are posting it online to certain locations. Personally, I don't see a problem with taking a picture of someone naked or yourself naked or whatever, because you know what? We all have the same body parts. It's not like somebody else has a different body part. Yeah, they're shaped differently. They look a little different, but overall, it's the same equipment. But that notwithstanding, the law is supposed to protect people who have ex-boyfriends or ex-girlfriends who have these photographs and post them online to basically try to humiliate them. And that's not a great thing. And I'm kind of behind that. But as I was looking through the article, the ACLU is kind of going against this policy because it goes against the First Amendment, which is free speech. Joe, your thoughts?
I think the shadiest part of the revenge porn websites is that some of them, they charge a fee to take the pictures down.
Yes. So
it's kind of like a racket. I mean, they're getting this material for free from these people's ex-lovers.
Uh-huh.
They get a complaint from somebody who's in the picture who says, hey, listen, I'm in that picture. I didn't approve of them uploading it. Can you please take it down? So then they charge a fee. It's a complete scam. They're creating a problem and then charging these people to correct the problem.
That sounds like a religion.
But
it does, doesn't it?
As far as this law goes, I think that it has potential to help people who feel like they've been the victim of revenge porn. But I'm concerned that the law might get used to put people in jail for posting not necessarily pictures of their ex-lovers, but any picture that could be deemed explicit.
Right.
This reminds me a little bit of the hate crime laws, where it seems like it's a great and just idea at first, but once the enforcers of laws get their hands on it, it turns into something else. It gets abused.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I would hate to see that happen from this.
Absolutely. And the thing is, this law is not supposed to protect the person who's willing to take a picture of themselves, like that one cop we talked about several months ago. She was posting nude pictures of herself online all over the place, and that's not set to protect her, because she's doing it herself. If, say, her ex-lover gets on there and does that, then yeah, then it would protect her. But since she's got so many photos out there already that she's made public on her own, I don't see, I don't know if anybody would have a leg to stand on in that instance. Dave, your thoughts?
First off, Joe, that's a slippery slope argument. But anyhow.
It's a concern based on previous observation.
Yes.
Yeah, no, certainly. Anyhow, I think it's important to remember in this instance that not all of this revenge porn is something that someone is consensually agreeing to. People put video cameras in different places, or when you're in a relationship with someone, it's very easy to see them nude and film them.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's something to bear in mind when we're talking about the legislation. Also, I mean, these women some of them are getting so harassed that they've had to change their last names.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That there's a lot of women out there who do get harassed by, other people. And
not just women. I'm sure that there's
men and guys
well.
too. Yeah, I'm sure. I don't think, like Joe said, it's not. I don't think it's a great law. I think it needs to be revised, and I think that's the reason why the ACLU was pushing back against it.
Well, it's not necessarily constitutional. I mean, there's a debate as to the Constitution. Whether or not it's constitutional, but I don't know. I mean, it does serve a purpose to protect some people. Currently, there's no law that prevents this sort of thing. It is something that can extremely change the course of someone's life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It can. There's a lot of people out there because they're good looking or whatever, or they have some people who have clauses for job places where they have a modesty clause, and if someone posts a picture of them up online, then they could get fired over something like that, because
right.
it would basically hurt them financially.
Yeah.
And I think even God agrees, because he's rumbling right in your background.
He certainly is. He's damning me.
Just kidding. Kidding. Don't believe in God. But
this law goes after people who post the pictures, like the ex-boyfriend or the ex-girlfriend or whatever. Perhaps if they made a law where the websites weren't allowed to charge to have the pictures removed, and if you ran a website that put this kind of content up, the law could address, grievances. Like if someone approaches the website and says, hey, listen, I'm in that picture, I don't want the picture to be up there, then the website would have to take it down, address it on the website side, not the poster side.
Now, if they were charging for a service to go out and find all the websites that had your picture and then charge your service for that, then I could see them charging a fee for that. That I don't think I'd have a problem with. But if they have it up on their own website and say, hey, yeah, well, we're getting X amount of hits on this, so you want to charge us money to take your picture down, yeah, that's kind of sleazy.
Right. Well, and these websites have features where you can post directly to their Facebook pages and things of that nature. I mean, you're linking it to them in their personal real life. It's not as though it's floating around on the internet somewhere.
Right. Well, it is floating on the internet somewhere,
no,
but
it is. But it's also attached to the victim's name.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
And the thing is, there could be. They said there's going to be fines up to $1,000, or if you're or end up to 6 months of jail, and a fine of $1,000 if you're convicted. So personally, I wouldn't risk it. I mean, personally, it's not worth it. But there's a lot of people who think there is, I guess.
I think it's a good thing that's being addressed. Whether this specific law is a good one, and we don't know if it's going to pass or not at this point. I mean, it's just a proposal, really.
Right.
So,
yeah, but
who knows if it's going to go through? But that conversation is being started, and the internet is not very regulated as it is.
Right. Well, unless you live in England, which they don't have access to any adult content whatsoever. So
up to and including YouTube.
YouTube, yeah.
Plus, people who do revenge porn are assholes, and they're ruining it for the rest of us who want those naked pictures to be sent to us.
Right, exactly.
Guys, you can send all your naked pictures to Joe Unseen at Twitter. No. Just kidding. Kidding.
This article mentioned a specific website that kind of started this whole thing, the website that was charging to have the pictures taken down, and it said that another website, this anti-bullying website, bought them out and then took the website down. Mm-hmm. So, I quickly went to Google it because I wanted to see how easy is it to get this material. So I put in that website's old name, and it comes up with the new bullying website. So then I put in the old website's name plus mirror, and right away I got mirror sites of what the old site looked like. So,
really?
Yeah. So I mean, it's still there. It's always going to be there. It's on the internet now.
Right. Yeah. That's just sad, and in some cases for those people who can't seem to get their photo even taken down, because even if they did, that's what I think that's what sucks, is that even if they do pay the fee to get it taken down, there's mirror sites out there and who won't honor those agreements. So
who's going to stop someone who downloaded it while it was up from reposting it? Exactly.
There's another place. Okay.
Which completely negates my argument before go after the website, not the poster.
Right. Well, there's some people out there that have tried. Okay, speaking of trying, let's get on to our next topic for this evening.
Well, I'm not the brightest crayon in the box.
We have a new segment tonight. We're calling this Dupes, Dopes, and Darwin Awards, for those people out there who do something particularly stupid that could put their lives in jeopardy or have already done so. There was a man out in, his name was Geronimo. Make your own jokes, folks. He was 37. He killed himself after he accidentally shot himself in his penis. Yes, he shot himself in the penis. He actually not just shot himself in the penis, he shot his penis completely off. He was in Rosensale and Panascania, that's in the Philippines out there. He had a homemade .22 caliber pistol, and he was firing it up in the air, because, when alcohol and firearms, yeah, okay, let's not get into that conversation, but he was a little drunk, he was firing shots up in the air, and then he shoved it back in his pants. Then, all his buddies were trying to wrestle the gun away from him, so they, get him to stop shooting it so he doesn't actually shoot somebody. The gun went off, and it killed him. By the time he got to the hospital, he was already dead. The thing was, and if I didn't mention that before, this gun was a homemade gun. So I've never seen a homemade .22 before, but I'm sure they're out there. Joe, your thoughts?
Well, that's one way to cure gonorrhea.
Permanently.
Yeah. Well, according to this story, it's apparent that bullets and penises don't play well together.
Yes, apparently.
And as you mentioned, heavy drinking and homemade guns are a bad combination as well. Mm-hmm. What's really crazy about this is, like you said, he not only shot off his penis, but he died.
Yes.
I guess from blood loss on his way to the hospital. I mean, back in the day, I watched some of those traces of death videos, and in one of them, I remember there was this crowd of people, and they grabbed this guy who the video explained it was a guy who had raped somebody, and they held him down and cut off his penis, and it was so gross to watch, and a lot of blood comes out. I could totally see someone bleeding out from that.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's just ugh.
But
yeah. I don't think I could sit and watch something like that. I mean,
it's disturbing. I can't watch that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I can't either.
But yeah, people make their own .22 caliber guns all the time.
Really?
It's really not that hard.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
I've never thought about it myself. So.
They're called zip guns, I think.
Zip guns? No,
yeah, homemade small caliber guns.
Yeah, I haven't even made a potato gun yet, so I like my potatoes. If I want to have a potato, I don't need it coming at me at high speed.
Yeah, potato guns are legal. Zip guns, I do believe, are illegal in most places.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
But not in the Philippines.
Probably not. Probably not. Dave, your thoughts?
Well, I thought, as both of you guys did, that the homemade gun aspect was probably the most interesting aspect with this. Mm-hmm. I was looking into laws about it, and they're very specific. I mean, it has to do with It's illegal if the inside of the barrel is not, spiraled out.
Mm-hmm.
What do they call that? I'm not a gun
Rifling.
guy.
Rifling. It's called rifling. Yeah.
Rifling. Okay. Yeah. I'm not a gun guy, so I don't really know very much. But it was interesting to read about this stuff and find people who are making their own guns. And I watched some YouTube videos that were pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. The only thing with rifling, all that does is just make the bullet shoot straighter, and that's all it does, really.
Well, apparently that's the difference between it being legal and illegal in a lot of cases.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And then,
that I didn't know.
And then there's a whole different thing, a different aspect where there's a lot of legal issues as far as selling it. It's not necessarily illegal to make one if it's made to certain specifications.
Mm-hmm.
You have to legally do it, you have to apply and you have to pay taxes on it first.
Oh, yeah.
In order to sell it. There's some vague law that I was reading that just didn't make very much sense because there was really zero accountability. But it was talking about whether or not your intention when you built a homemade gun was to sell it or not. Because you can build it for yourself, but resale is a different legal issue.
If there are a lot of places out there, if you want to make one for yourself, then that's apparently there's a lot of things. If you make it just for yourself like that, it's perfectly legal. But to go to resell, that's a whole other story. And one last thing here, I just want to, if you notice the background here, that was Connie Practical Magic's daughter who made this picture for me.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, if you get a chance to message her on Twitter and tell her how much she likes it, because if you look over here in the corner, there's a couple of guys in this thing that's floating. That's right behind me here. There it is. That's actually a power strip sitting on two floating flip-flops in the water with electric power going through, and you can't quite see the one that's sitting right below me here. It's a picture of a woman. She's looking down the barrel of a gun, and I'll move my head here so you can see it. See, she's
oh my God.
Yeah. And the picture just to my right.
That is not how you check
my
to
left,
see if they're
rather.
loaded.
I should say to my left, right here. That's a polar bear, and there's somebody that's actually in the water over here, and there's of course Darwin over there. So, and right behind me is see no evil, hear no evil, all driving a truck. So, but anyway, I just thought I'd just describe this picture, so just in case anybody asks what this picture is, that's what it is, all right. So anyway, again, we want to thank Practical Magic's daughter. I think it was Brianna who made this picture for me, so thank you very much. Okay, let's get on to our next topic for this evening. There's a lot of people out there that when you're dealing with Christians and you're an atheist and they throw this one at you, and there's Christians like to throw these stupid comments at you, and it makes me scratch my head as to going, why would you say something this stupid? With this particular one, we're going to be talking tonight about, does it take more faith to be an atheist? This is the stupidest argument I've ever heard. They'll say, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. I mean, come the fuck on, really? This is, it's almost insulting, because they don't fucking clue, because they think that they have to have some kind of faith to not believe in God. Well, it doesn't take faith to not believe in a God. Does it take any faith to not believe in Bigfoot? Does it take any faith not to believe in the Tooth Fairy? No, it does not. You're making a fucking stupid goddamn ass of yourself when you say, oh, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. You're just making yourself look like a mental midget, really. So we're going to start the timer, and the timer is right over here. Should be. There it is. And we're going to start with Dave, and time starts now. Dave, your thoughts?
Oh, well, whether or not it takes more faith to be an atheist.
Yes.
Immediately, I'll say no. It does not.
Obviously.
It's really a question of, I don't even know, man. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm so distracted by this thunderstorm right now.
It's because God knows you're talking about him.
I know, man.
Yeah, I know, and it's all in. So I suppose some Christians out there are going to say, "See, you shouldn't be talking about God. We got thunder and you're going to get you."
Okay, so
right.
Faith by definition is basically complete trust or confidence in someone or something as one definition. A second definition would be strong belief in God or in the doctrines of a religion based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof.
Right.
No, it does not take faith to be an atheist.
You have great sound effects on your side there, Dave.
Right?
You should be reading off the 10 Commandments.
You should.
Basically, theism is a claim. Atheism is without.
Mm-hmm.
Theos is gods. We're without the belief in gods. It's one single claim that we're rejecting. We're rejecting it based upon a lack of proof. Faith itself is a belief based upon a lack of proof. Our rejection is based upon a lack of proof. They're opposites of one another.
This is typically known as a straw man argument.
Oh, I see.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a question of epistemology, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the philosophy of just knowledge, basically.
Right.
Where truth and belief intersect, we have knowledge.
Right. Anything else?
No.
Okay, great.
He's so distracted by that thunderstorm.
Yeah, I noticed that.
This is not my best night on here.
That's all right. That's okay.
Looking over my shoulder.
Yeah, he's watching to see if something's going to show up. Joe, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I often ask believers how they know there's a God, and they sometimes say because they have faith. And I've said it before, faith is the refusal to ask questions, not the answers to them.
Right.
Now, when someone says it takes more faith to be an atheist, that statement comes from someone who has a misunderstanding of evidence or proof.
Right.
It's a statement of confusion.
Mm-hmm.
They equate faith that God exists is the same as faith no God exists.
Right.
But that's not the case. As Dave talked about, faith is a belief that is not evidence-based, and atheism is a lack of belief in theist claims. So clearly faith is not something that is compatible with atheism. They are two different things.
Right.
And it's also important to note that a lot of people equate faith with the word trust. Mm-hmm. Like I've heard people say, like, "Well, you have faith that the brakes in your car will work." Well, no,
I've heard that one too.
Yeah, I trust that the brakes in my car will work because they worked yesterday, and because I serviced them myself, and because I have no reason not to trust that they will work until they fail.
Right, or they'll use you. Well, you have faith that the sun's going to come up tomorrow. No,
Exactly.
I don't. No,
Exactly.
I don't, because there's no guarantee the sun's going to come up tomorrow. But we have thousands and thousands and thousands of previous examples of the sun coming up the next day. So I don't need to have faith for it to come up.
Exactly. And if you're on the side of the planet without the sun at night, you can call up the other side of the planet and just be like, "Hey, is the sun still working?" And they'll look
That's
outside.
right.
Yeah, it's still working. All right, great. There's no reason not to believe it's going to come up in the morning.
That's right. Or unless you're in space and you're in a satellite, you're sitting in a spaceship or a satellite, and you're on the dark side of the Earth, and you stay in that dark shadow the whole time, then the sun will never rise for you at that point, because you're always staying opposite of where the sun ever is. So that's a whole.
Right.
But
right. In most dictionaries, there are multiple definitions of the word.
Oh yeah.
And we're really talking about religious faith here. I mean,
Exactly.
there's a specific faith that is religious faith that is strongly defined, and it's basically defined straight out of the Bible.
Oh, Dave, in the last couple minutes, bring up that point you made about faith and virtue.
yeah, you remember, we had this at the meeting. You were talking about the faith and the virtue.
Yeah, right. So I've recently seen someone use this argument, and I thought it was brilliant. Basically, if we play along with the idea that it takes more faith to be an atheist, and we're arguing that it does not, but if we concede that and then go along, then if faith is a virtue, then if we have more faith then we're more virtuous.
Say, I'm more virtuous than you because I have faith that there's no God, right?
So when a Christian
I'm more virtuous.
or any
Thanks.
when any religious person says that it takes more faith to be an atheist, it could plainly be turned around that we're more virtuous than they are.
Right.
Or they at least in some way believe it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just it's such a bad argument. I mean, the most times the Christians that I've heard use this are the ones who've never come across a real atheist before, or they've come across ones that just say, "Yeah, I just don't believe in God" or whatever. But they've never, actually studied anything. They just don't believe. They're just like I'd like to say the beginner atheist. I don't know if there's such a thing, but I mean someone who's just getting into it just recently.
Oh, there's beginner atheists, all right.
Yeah.
There are.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're not used to having to deal
fine.
with, everybody's got to start somewhere. But if you're not used to having to deal with theists because attacking you because you're just into atheism now and you're just getting out of the religion, and then they'll use this straw man argument against you, and it's just it's a blatant stupidity move on their part. So our time is done right now. Okay.
I'll agree with what you said though on beginner atheist, because I mean when I first started debating online and people started saying faith to me, like, well, I have faith, and therefore my God is real, and I would be like, okay, what the hell are you talking about?
Right.
Because I'm sitting here like show me the evidence, show me the and so I actually had to go and look up faith. I'm like, well, what do they mean by that? And it really is like in their minds that's the absolute proof, because I say so.
Yeah, exactly. Also, and we also, of course, since this gets posted to YouTube, if you're out there and you have a comment on this subject, or you have your own story on this, or thoughts on this, please leave it in the comment section here below, and we'd love to read them. Okay, let's get on to our next topic for this evening.
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.
And on tonight's Did You Know They Were an Atheist is Henry Rollins. Rollins. Henry Rollins. He is in the spoken video from Talking from the Box. He says he's not a spiritual person and he does not believe in an afterlife. So in most cases I would say that pretty much makes you an atheist if you don't believe in an afterlife. So if there's no afterlife, no point of being spiritual or anything else like that. I personally, I never heard of him, but there's a lot of atheists out there that are celebrities that I've never heard of, and this is the reason why we do this segment, so you can learn about people that you've probably never heard of, who are famous atheists. Joe, tell us a little bit about Henry Rollins.
Well, I don't know a whole lot about him. I was like a big fan of punk rock music in my youth, but I was more of a Dead Kennedys Crass kind of guy. I knew about Black Flag. I did listen to some of their early stuff. I liked the early 80s stuff. The late 70s stuff was really good. So yeah, I've listened to Henry Rollins' music. Later on in my listening, Henry Rollins started putting out spoken word albums. And those are really intelligent. Like if you sit down and you listen to those, he's a very smart guy and he has a lot of interesting things to say. It's informative, it's funny, and it's really entertaining to listen to. So to find out that he's in our camp is not a big surprise for me anyway. I mean, it's just the way he is. He was later in the band called the Henry Rollins Band. I never ever listened to that. Like I didn't get into it that much that late in his musical career. But I mean, he's gone on to do other things now. He's done TV shows. He was in the Jackass movie. He's been in a whole bunch of things. So
that's the reason why I don't know about him, because I don't watch those Jackass movies, because I just
he's not a cast member of Jackass. He just did a cameo in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so like not being a fan of Jackass, like you could be a fan of Jackass and not know that Henry Rollins was in it.
We're everywhere, man. It also says here on the page, it says, in a monologue on the Henry Rollins Show, he stated, in the theory of evolution, there is no talk of God and no Bibles are used. They're not looking for higher powers, extraterrestrials, or anything else that could be found in science fiction section because they are not dealing with fiction. So, then that's an exact quote. Dave,
that's a good quote.
Yes, it is. Dave, your thoughts?
Oh, I love Henry Rollins. He does a good job in the movies he's in. Mm-hmm. He does a good job on his television show that he has. Mm-hmm. He interviews a lot of great bands. The quote that you just said, I watched that video earlier today, and it was pretty impressive. But then again, I'm often impressed by Henry Rollins himself. He's very well spoken and articulate. He's a smart guy. He is everything that a good poster boy for atheism should be, really.
Yeah, well,
I think so. I mean, he's a good guy.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people out there who are atheists and they're just assholes. But hey, you know, that notwithstanding, some people are just, everybody has got to be who they are. I mean, asshole or real good persons. So
Henry Rollins is also tough as nails.
He is. He is tough as nails, and he don't take no shit.
Should we put him up against Chuck Norris? Yeah, go up.
Oh,
against.
Henry Rollins would kick Chuck Norris's ass.
There you go.
I agree.
As I always say, fuck Chuck. But anyway.
I mean, I suspected he was an atheist. I wasn't certain before. Well, yeah, he says he's an atheist. So,
yeah.
I mean, he flat out says it.
Yeah, pretty
much. Chuck Norris would come to and be like, what truck hit me?
Yeah, right.
All right. Well, before we get out of here, we're going to give you all the information on how you can contact us. And I've seen some commentary about the ads, and I am dreadfully sorry we have to play these ads, but they are very necessary. But if you want the ads to go away, if you go over to the Patreon, patreon.com and /Packard Pokes At, it'll be listed right here below. It'll show that. And if you make us some donations to the show, and since we do provide you all this for free, then I can make the ads a little bit less often and won't have so many in there. But since I got to pay the bills, you got to deal with the ads. That's all there is to it. Unless you want to make some donations, and I would greatly appreciate it. But if in the meantime, if you do want to contact us, I'll give you all that contact information right now.
Would you like to contact us? Your host, Packard Sonic, and his very honored and crazy co-hosts, with occasional guest hosts, enjoy your comments or suggestions. You can reach us 28 hours a day, 8 days a week on A Can on a String, Smoke Signals, Star Trek Communicator? Those may not work, but you can contact us on Twitter as Packard Pokes At, and by email at packardpokesat@gmail.com. You can also listen and join in the conversation live Friday nights at 9 p.m. Central Time on vonlive.tv/PackardPokesAt. You can find past shows on iTunes, YouTube, Mixler Radio, and Stitcher Radio. Help us out by rating, commenting, subscribing, retweeting, and reposting the show wherever you can. Click the like button on Facebook /PackardPokesAt to join in the conversation. Would you like to help keep the show running and pick up some awesome Packard Pokes At merchandise? Visit cafepress.com/PackardPokesAt today and buy hats, shirts, or one of over 300 other items that are also available. Visit packardpokesat.wordpress.com for links to the news articles covered tonight and more information on this or other episodes. We hope you enjoy the show. Thanks for listening and your support.
And thank you, Joe. Wow, you do that so well. By the way, I discovered I didn't have the thing for the link in the bottom here. I do apologize. It's usually in our longer show. I just forgot to put it in our short show setup here. So, but just Google Packard Pokes At up on and the word Patreon into Google, and you should be able to find it. It's patreon.com/Packard Pokes At. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming and coming to the nice short show. There'll be some extra content on the podcast for this weekend. And if you're not downloading the podcast or you don't know where to find it, it's over on iTunes. Just look for Packard Pokes At, and there's always extra content on there that we don't play during the show. So if you want to get that extra content, subscribe, and please leave comments on there. It helps boost up our ratings, and hopefully that people will be able to help find the show. So this has been Packard Pokes At. We just poked at your news.
And that's a wrap.